Emily Carter had always imagined that joining a new family would feel warm and simple, but life rarely followed her plans. When she married Daniel, she stepped into a quiet Oregon home filled with gentle mornings, soft routines, and a calm she hadn't known in years. Yet in the middle of that calm lived the one person she still could not understand: Daniel's 20-year-old son, Liam. From the beginning, Liam treated her with perfect politeness. He nodded when she spoke, helped with groceries, asked if she needed anything, and always kept a respectful distance. It sounded ideal from the outside, but something about his carefulness felt too strict, too practiced, as if he was hiding entire parts of himself behind a wall she couldn't see through. Emily didn't blame him. She knew becoming someone's stepmother wasn't simple, but she wished she could understand him beyond the small, formal exchanges they shared. Still, she trusted him. She trusted his calm nature, his quiet strength, and the way he respected boundaries without ever being told. She trusted him so much that when Daniel announced a week-long business trip, she didn't worry. She simply smiled and said she'd manage just fine. The morning Daniel left, the house felt larger and a little too silent. Emily made coffee, opened the curtains, and noticed Liam coming downstairs earlier than usual. Something about his presence felt different that day, not heavier, not darker, just warmer. He stood at the edge of the kitchen with a relaxed posture she wasn't used to seeing. "You'll be okay this week?" he asked, his tone gentle, almost thoughtful. His eyes held something unfamiliar, an openness she hadn't seen in him before. It surprised her enough that she hesitated before answering. "I'll be fine," she said with a small smile. "Besides, you're here." That smile earned her a small, almost shy expression from him. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I'm here if you need anything." Then he walked away, leaving Emily standing in the kitchen with a strange feeling she couldn't explain. It wasn't fear. It wasn't worry. It was more like sensing something shifting beneath the surface. Like the house had taken a deeper breath now that only the two of them remained. For the first time, Emily wondered what Liam was like when he wasn't guarding himself. The rest of the day moved quickly. Emily cleaned the living room, answered work emails, and tried not to think too much about the new energy in the house. But she noticed small things: Liam checking in quietly, asking if she had eaten, mentioning he could fix the loose cabinet handle, offering to bring in the mail before she even asked. None of it was dramatic, but all of it felt more personal than before. Like he was slowly stepping out from behind the careful wall he'd kept for years. In the evening, rain began to fall, soft at first, then steady enough to tap against the windows in a rhythmic, calming pattern. Emily sat on the couch with a blanket over her legs, watching the gray sky darken. She didn't expect Liam to join her, but he walked in carrying 2 mugs of tea. He didn't say anything, just placed one beside her and sat at the opposite end of the couch. For a moment, they simply listened to the rain. Emily took a sip and smiled. "Thank you. This is thoughtful." He nodded, watching the window instead of her. "You looked cold." The simple explanation touched her more deeply than she expected. It wasn't the words, it was the tone. He wasn't distant or formal. He was simply present. The silence between them didn't feel heavy. It felt peaceful. After a few minutes, Liam stood and said he had homework to finish. Emily watched him walk away, feeling the same quiet shift she felt earlier that morning. It was subtle, but unmistakable. Liam was letting her see him slowly, carefully, like someone opening a door after years of keeping it locked, and she wasn't sure what it meant or why it mattered so much. But one thought stayed with her long after he disappeared upstairs. Maybe she had misunderstood him. Maybe there was a whole different Liam behind those quiet eyes. And maybe this week would reveal who he truly was. A soft uneasiness moved through her, mixed with curiosity. She couldn't push away the week without Daniel gave Emily time she didn't realize she needed. At first, the house felt quiet and empty, but slowly, she noticed small signs that Liam was around. Not intrusive, just present. He helped with meals, tidied the living room without being asked, and asked about her day in ways that made her feel genuinely seen. His attention wasn't overbearing, but it carried a subtle warmth that she hadn't expected. At breakfast one morning, he poured her coffee before taking his own and asked, "Did you sleep well?" His voice was calm, but there was a sincerity in it that caught her off guard. Emily hesitated, realizing she had not slept well in weeks. The question was simple, almost ordinary, but it made her feel that someone noticed her struggles beyond polite civility. She smiled faintly, feeling a flicker of connection she hadn't felt before. The days passed quickly. Rainy afternoons were spent with small tasks, folding laundry, organizing shelves, even fixing a squeaky door together. Liam was quiet mostly, but when he spoke, it was thoughtful and careful, as if he weighed every word to make it matter. One afternoon, as they painted the guest room together, his sleeve brushed hers, leaving a small streak of paint on her wrist. She laughed at the accident, a genuine, warm sound. And for a moment, he froze, almost as if her laughter surprised him. "You should laugh more," he murmured softly. And Emily felt a strange flutter in her chest. It wasn't romantic in a dangerous way, but it was intimate. A shared moment that felt private and significant. She looked at him and noticed a subtle change. His usual guarded expression had softened, replaced by something open and almost vulnerable. Emily found herself paying attention to small details. How he tilted his head when thinking. How his eyes lingered on her as if trying to understand her. How his presence filled the space without words. She reminded herself constantly. He was Daniel's son, nothing more. And yet she couldn't deny the warmth that spread through her chest whenever he was near. It was a new sensation, one that mixed comfort with curiosity. And it made her feel alive in a way she hadn't in a long time. That evening, the sky was gray and heavy. Rain pattering on the windows as Emily settled on the couch with a blanket. Liam entered carrying 2 steaming mugs. He handed one to her without a word, sitting across from her quietly. They didn't speak for a while, simply listening to the rain and sharing the silence. Emily felt a surprising ease in his company. A gentle reassurance that someone noticed her presence and cared. "You've been busy this week," he said finally, his voice low and calm. "You should rest more." Emily nodded, touched by the consideration in his tone. "I've been trying," she admitted. "It's not easy." Liam leaned back slightly, studying her face with a quiet attentiveness that made her heart skip. "You don't have to carry everything alone," he said softly. "I can help." The words struck her, not because they were unexpected, but because of the way they were so gentle, steady, and sincere. Emily felt a mix of emotions, relief that someone recognized her efforts, and a confusing warmth she couldn't place. She looked at him, noticing for the first time that his calm demeanor hid a depth she had never seen before. He wasn't just polite or responsible. He was observant, caring, and remarkably thoughtful. Later, while preparing dinner, Liam stayed close, offering quiet suggestions and helping without needing instruction. He laughed softly at small mistakes she made, and Emily found herself laughing more freely than she had in years. Each small interaction deepened the unspoken connection between them, creating a bond that was emotional, tender, and subtle, a closeness built on understanding, not words. By the end of the week, Emily realized that Liam had changed her perception of him entirely. He was no longer just the polite, distant stepson. He was a young man with thoughtfulness, empathy, and a quiet strength that made her heart ache in a strange, unexplainable way. And though she reminded herself constantly that he was Daniel's son and boundaries mattered, she couldn't ignore the warmth that grew between them, a warmth born of shared moments, gentle care, and an honesty that neither had expressed before. As she went to bed that night, Emily felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Something had shifted. Liam had shown her a side of himself she never expected, and she couldn't stop thinking about it. She realized that the week alone hadn't just been about managing the house or passing time, had revealed layers of emotion, connection, and vulnerability that hinted at something deeper between them. And somewhere inside, Emily knew the coming days would bring even more revelations, moments that could either strengthen the bond or challenge everything she thought she knew about him. The unexpected warmth Liam had shown her left her wondering how much more was he ready to reveal, and how would it change the life they shared under the same roof. The week had passed and the house carried a new rhythm. Emily could feel it in every room, the way Liam moved, the way he spoke, the small attentions that no longer felt accidental. Their connection was quiet but undeniable, built from shared moments, gentle care, and emotional honesty. She could no longer pretend that their bond was simply polite stepson-stepmother respect. Something deeper had begun, something neither of them had labeled but both recognized. One morning, Emily found Liam on the porch, wrapped in a sweater, watching the sunrise. The sky glowed with soft oranges and pinks, and the world felt quiet except for the occasional chirp of a bird. He didn't speak at first, just stood there, serene and thoughtful. Emily hesitated at the doorway, feeling a mixture of curiosity and unease. There was an intensity in his gaze, a calm certainty that made her heart race. The week had shifted something between Emily and Liam, and the house felt lighter yet charged with unspoken emotion. Emily had begun noticing subtle details she had overlooked before, the way Liam's eyes lingered when she entered a room, the soft attentiveness in his voice, the small gestures that felt too thoughtful to be casual. He was no longer just Daniel's polite son. He was someone complex, quietly brave, and unexpectedly vulnerable. One evening, a sudden power outage swept across the neighborhood. The lights went out, leaving the house dim and silent. Emily fumbled for candles, feeling the unfamiliar darkness settle around her. Liam appeared in the hallway with a flashlight, his calm presence immediately reassuring. "I've got this," he said, and the tone carried a quiet confidence that made her heart skip. He led her to the living room, where they lit a candle and sat in the soft, flickering glow. The room felt smaller, cozier, as if the dark outside had pushed them closer together. Emily could see his face clearly, now his sharp jaw. The intensity in his eyes, the way his expression softened in the dim light. It was a side of him she had never seen before. Open, vulnerable, and entirely genuine. "You're not afraid of the dark, right?" Liam asked, a teasing note in his voice. Emily shook her head, trying to smile, but the truth was she had been anxious. His calmness reassured her in a way words never could. "Just not used to the quiet," she admitted softly. Liam's gaze softened as he studied her. "You don't have to pretend with me," he said quietly. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried a weight that made her pause. "I see things clearly, maybe clearer than your husband does." Emily's heart caught in her chest. She wasn't sure she wanted to hear what he saw, yet the sincerity in his voice made it impossible to look away. She realized he wasn't just attentive. He had been watching, noticing, understanding her in ways no one else had. "What things?" she asked softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "That you carry everything alone," he said. "That you try to be strong all the time, and that sometimes you need someone to just notice you." The words hit her unexpectedly. They weren't romantic in a forbidden way, they were emotional, heartfelt, and pure. They reminded her that someone could care deeply without demanding anything in return. She realized she had been holding so much tension, fear, and responsibility inside. And for the first time, someone had recognized it without judgment. Liam leaned back slightly, still watching her, his eyes steady and patient. "Emily," he continued, "I've never wanted you to feel alone in this house." Her throat tightened. There was something in his tone, a combination of honesty and quiet longing, that made her feel unsteady. She wanted to speak, to respond, but the words caught somewhere between thought and breath. Instead, she just looked at him, noticing every nuance of expression, every hint of emotion he tried to hide. The power flickered back on abruptly, breaking the fragile moment. Liam stood, his careful expression returning almost instantly, and said softly, "Good night." He left the room without another word, leaving Emily alone with her thoughts and a quiet ache in her chest. She sat there for a long time, staring at the candlelight, trying to process what had just happened. Liam had revealed a part of himself she had never seen, a depth of care, attentiveness, and understanding that went beyond polite gestures or family obligations. He had shown her that he could be honest about his feelings without crossing any boundaries, and it left her feeling both moved and unsettled. Emily understood, more clearly than ever, that Liam was more than the quiet, respectful stepson she had first met. He was perceptive, empathetic, and capable of emotional honesty that few people could sustain. She felt an unexpected warmth, a connection that was safe, meaningful, and profoundly human. Later, as she prepared for bed, Emily reflected on the night. Liam's words replayed in her mind, not like a confession to act on, but as a truth she couldn't ignore. She realized that seeing someone fully understanding their attention, care, and intentions could be as powerful as love itself. She didn't have to label it yet. She only needed to acknowledge it. And somewhere deep inside, Emily sensed that this was only the beginning. Liam had shown her who he really was behind the polite ex-Emily. He said finally, his voice low and even, "I need to be honest with you." Her breath caught. She wasn't sure she wanted to hear the truth, yet she knew she did. She stepped onto the porch, closing the small gap between them. The air was crisp, and the early light cast a soft glow across his face. She noticed things she had never focused on before: the slight curve of his lips, the way his eyes seemed to study her without judgment, the gentleness in his posture. "I wasn't distant because I disliked you," he began. "I was distant because I didn't trust myself to show who I really am around you. I was afraid. Afraid of what it might mean if I let myself feel more." Emily's chest tightened. She understood exactly what he meant. She had felt it to the pull, the warmth, the sense that their connection was more than ordinary. Yet the reality of it being voiced aloud made her pulse quicken. "And who are you?" she asked softly, her voice steady despite the flutter in her stomach. Liam met her eyes without hesitation. "Someone who cares about you more than I should. Someone who has tried to keep emotional distance, but can't pretend anymore." The honesty in his words struck her, not as a danger, but as a revelation. He wasn't crossing boundaries or making demands. He was sharing his truth, trusting her with his emotions. Emily realized that the depth of his care went beyond simple familial affection. It was attentive, understanding, and profoundly human. She took a moment to absorb it. Her mind raced with thoughts, but her heart focused on the simplicity of his honesty. For the first time, she felt truly seen, not just noticed, but understood. The moments they had shared, the quiet mornings, the rainy afternoons, the candlelit conversations, all of it now made sense. Liam had been revealing himself slowly, carefully, and she had finally recognized it. "I didn't expect this," Emily said gently, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've grown fond of you, of your presence. You've become important to me. But the way we handle this matters." Liam nodded, a soft understanding in his eyes. "I'm not asking for anything," he said. "I just needed you to know who I truly am. No masks, no distance, just honesty." Emily's lips curved into a small, sincere smile. It was a mixture of relief, recognition, and quiet joy. She felt a weight lift from her chest, a weight she hadn't realized she had been carrying alone. There was no rush, no demand, only the recognition of something pure, emotional intimacy that was safe, honest, and deeply moving. For a long moment, they stood together in silence, sharing the sunrise, sharing understanding, sharing the quiet bond that had grown between them. It wasn't romantic in a reckless way, but it was tender, heartfelt, and undeniably powerful. Emily felt gratitude for this clarity, for this rare moment when someone's soul could be revealed without fear or pretense. Suddenly, the sound of a car in the driveway drew their attention. Daniel had returned earlier than expected. Emily felt the tension of reality settle around them, reminding her that life continued outside this fragile bubble of honesty. Yet, even with Daniel's arrival, nothing could undo what had been shared between her and Liam. The emotional truth lingered, unspoken but deeply understood. Emily turned to Liam, placing a gentle hand on his arm. "Thank you," she whispered, "for trusting me with yourself." Liam's eyes softened, and he gave a small, sincere nod. "Always," he said. As Daniel walked in, Emily felt a quiet confidence within herself. Their bond had been revealed and respected. It was a connection built on honesty, understanding, and emotional depth. There were challenges ahead, choices to make, and boundaries to maintain, but the foundation had been laid. Emily understood Liam in a way she had never understood anyone before. And he understood her. The revelation of who Liam truly was didn't end the story. It opened a door to future moments of trust, care, and emotional closeness. Both knew the road ahead would require thought, patience, and respect. But for the first time, they felt ready to face it together, not as stepmother and stepson, but as two human beings who had discovered a rare and beautiful truth about each other. And in that moment, Emily realized that some connections didn't need labels to matter. Some bonds didn't need permission to exist. They simply needed honesty, presence, and the courage to see each other clearly. The sunrise faded, but the warmth between them lingered, promising new beginnings, deeper understanding, and a quietly powerful story that was theirs alone.